Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Lion and the Liverbird podcast. We're doing one after a really long time. We've been busy with some personal projects and all, and we have a very interesting topic for discussion. It's not going to be about something football related or football tactic. It's about a player that's shining in the Premier League. Many may not have expected him to shine, especially since he left a big club to join another big club. But we'll talk about Cole Palmer today, who's been absolutely sensational in the Premier League, even though Chelsea have not. So we'll get our resident Chelsea expert Rohit to discuss about
Ah,
Palmer. So Rohit, yeah, just take it away, man. Cole Palmer's
so
been incredible for Chelsea. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
considering what's been happening at the club,
yeah,
there are problems. We all know what they are. But that guy has been so consistent, banging goals in for fun. He's been the story of the Premier League, I think.
yeah, for
So
sure, for
yeah.
sure. I can't start a Cole Palmer podcast without doing his feeling cold
Oh,
celebration, ice cold Cole Palmer. But I think it's a very interesting topic to talk about because I think you touched upon a lot of things about Chelsea's recruitment, Chelsea's season, and Cole Palmer's emergence this season as a top player is a bit of an enigma, and it's very interesting as well. So just to start off with, right? So we are talking about him because he scored 20 goals in the Premier League, which is joint top with Erling Haaland. If you told me that at the beginning of the season, I'd laugh at you and I'll say, "Are you joking?"
yeah,
Uh,
no one would have believed that if
exactly,
anyone would have said like,
exactly. And 20 on top of the 20 goals, he also has 9 assists, right? So 29 goal involvements in the EPL. And overall, he has 25 goals and 13 assists this season. So, in a total of 41 games, 38 goal involvements. That's pretty elite. And those are numbers that we personally haven't seen at Chelsea for years, right? We've gone through horrible seasons, goal droughts. Like the entire team has, I think, last season scored 49 goals or something like that. So Palmer himself scoring 25 goals all alone this season has really been a revelation, right? So that's basically why we're talking about him. He's had an amazing season. He's been a standout player, and he's basically dragged Chelsea, from the depths of some very horrible performances and won many games.
so I think another
Yeah,
reason why we are talking about him is because of where he came from.
yes,
Uh,
we'll definitely touch upon that. Yep,
yeah,
yep,
it was a surprise that City sold him for whatever reason. I think you'll have a better idea of why he was sold and why
yeah,
Chelsea bought him.
yep,
But I don't know. We can maybe talk about it right now. Did
yeah.
City not need him,
So
or what was the
it's an
reason why they sold
interesting thing, right? So essentially, so today that's just the background. Chelsea just lost to Man City in the FA Cup semi-final, and right before, in the pre-match press conferences, obviously Pep Guardiola was asked this, right? City haven't been hitting their high standards this season as usual. They just got knocked out of the Champions League, and so somebody asked him, Cole Palmer, you sold him, he's doing really well. Why did you sell him? And essentially, what Pep said is Cole Palmer has been wanting to leave for the last 2 seasons, because he's not been getting, the game time that he's expecting to, right? And that's basically why I think City decided to cash in on him. So it's interesting because Chelsea paid 42 million pounds for him, which is a very big amount of money. It seems small right now, but when we bought him, that was a lot of investment. And because Palmer is a City Academy product, that 42 million is direct profit, right? So the sustainability and financial fair play rules that have been put in
that
place by the
City
Premier League. Yeah,
always don't follow? It's
yeah,
like
yeah,
that with
yeah.
Chelsea. Like that, like
115 charges against them for violating that.
it should be
Uh,
116 for selling Cole Palmer.
that's a good one. That's a good one. But it also helps to balance out the books, right? So a lot of people have said it worked out best for everybody, right? City made that profit. Chelsea got a really good player, and Palmer got a lot of minutes, and he's really been able to showcase himself. So it's a mix of all of those things, right? Uh, so we'll talk a little bit more about that about the City Academy. But first, I'd kind of like to talk about a few basic attributes about Palmer. We forget how young he is. He's just 21 years old, which is ridiculous. A 21-year-old like taking the Premier League by storm is insane, right? He is a left-footed player primarily. He can play on the left wing. He can play as an central attacking midfielder. He can also play on the right wing, and in some cases he's been playing furthest forward, so basically like a false nine. So he's somebody who's very versatile, right? That's something that you always want in a squad, right? He's shown that he's very versatile. The other thing that I really like about Palmer is the fact that he's 6 feet two, so he's fairly tall. So I say this because Chelsea, again, in terms of squad assembling, have done a major blunder. Chelsea is one of the shortest teams in the Premier League, and in a physical league, you don't want most of the people to be short, right? Chelsea have very few people, very few players above 6 feet, and it shows. We've been losing a lot of headers and duels in the air and things like that. So his height is actually important. So that's the basic aspects of Palmer. uh, Now, talking about his time at City, right? So essentially, he joined City in the under 8 level. So his grooming, his entire football education has basically happened at City. And I wanted to know who are some of the famous folks out of the City Academy, and there obviously are some recent names, right? We know Jadon Sancho is from
Jadon Sancho.
there, Brahim Diaz, who's been doing really well at Milan and Real Madrid recently. He's from there, right? Romeo Lavia, who Chelsea have bought again.
You have
He's
such a
from
side,
there.
yeah.
Of course, and then Foden, Phil Foden, he's their main star, their star boy, so to speak. He's from the academy. But I was really surprised to see the first name on the Manchester City Academy
Yeah.
was Ryan Giggs.
Ryan Giggs, yeah, that's a
Yeah,
surprise.
I'm like, okay, that's funny. Like a true out and out Manchester United legend.
Yeah.
Basically came from City, I guess. And at that point of time, Man United had clear, up the upper hand on City. Uh, but what the story that it told me was, over the years, if you look at it, City Academy has been getting progressively better. They've
Hmm.
had many good players now, many young players who are playing at the top level at various clubs, and Palmer just turns out to be one of them, right? uh, I also wanted to talk about how Palmer got recruited, right? So essentially, Joe Shields, who's one of the co-directors of recruitment at Chelsea, he's the one who pushed for Cole Palmer. And the interesting connection there is Joe Shields used to work in Man City. So he's worked at Southampton and Man City in various positions. And as a part of Man City, he knew all the young players who were there in City at that point of time. And Joe Shields was instrumental in Cole Palmer as well as Romeo Lavia. So we essentially got two of these academy gems from Man City. So that's basically it. So Chelsea hires Joe Shields, who has intimate understanding and knowledge about City's youth product, and he goes out and says, let's buy Cole Palmer. Uh,
So did Cole Palmer actually play a lot of games last season for
No,
City
no,
or
no. So that's
just
that's that's the
sporadic?
interesting thing again, right? So last season, Cole Palmer played just 850 minutes,
Oh.
and he had 1 goal and 1 assist across 25 games. So he was barely getting 20, 30 minutes a game, and not
Mhm.
even in all of the games, right? So 830 minutes last season, and compare that to almost 3,000 minutes that he's played for Chelsea. He's been, yeah, the person who the team has been built around for Chelsea, essentially. 3,000 minutes in 41 games, right? So he was basically not getting game time, right?
Mhm.
And clearly he has the skills, he has the talent, he has the technique, and he was getting frustrated there. And essentially that led him to push for an exit. Uh, Another bit of a background about the transfer, right? Cole Palmer was also asked about, why did you leave City? And he said, I've been at City all my life. I didn't really want to leave City, but I was not getting game time. So I told them, can you loan me out? But City declined to loan him out. So he took the other way out, and he essentially got a permanent transfer, right? Which kind of makes sense. Again, City got the money, he got more play time. So that there's some interesting aspects there, right?
Because I think the other reason also is that he wasn't getting game time simply because of the talent
Exactly.
in front of him. But did
Exactly.
Pep not know how good he is? Because surely he could have used him this season. I mean, we've seen City struggle. Toku
Yeah.
hasn't been that great, right? I mean, neither has Jack Grealish.
Yeah.
De Bruyne's been injured from time to time. And since Cole Palmer is so versatile,
Yeah.
surely he could have done a job for them and, kept City fresh. He could have even played as a
Yeah.
striker in place of
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, Not
But
Not Haaland, the other guy, Alvarez. Yeah,
Alvarez, yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
No, no, you make a really good point. But I think the thing with Pep Guardiola is if you look at Phil Foden's, progression, right? It took him the longest time to really break into the City squad. Like only in this season is he consistently starting all the games, right? And he's been at City for ages. So it takes a long time for somebody to win Guardiola's trust, and you have to completely buy into his system, so to speak, right? A good kind of example of that is what has happened to Jack Grealish, right? I don't know if you watch City matches. Grealish basically just carries the ball forward and then just gives them control. He's lost a lot
Hmm.
of his flair. He's lost a lot of his cutting edge and cutting thrust, but he's really good on the ball. He's good at recirculating the ball and helping City maintain pressure and maintain control. So I think that's one of the aspects to get into a Guardiola side. You definitely need time, right? Unless something major happens. Uh, and he was just behind Foden, he was behind Kevin De Bruyne, he was behind Bernardo Silva, and I think he Pep just expected him to wait for a couple more seasons, right? And then he didn't want to. Will City regret it in the long run? Probably, but that's just the way things are. Sometimes you got to let people go, just like we regret letting De Bruyne go, right? Something along the same lines. That's just the way it is. I wanted to talk about some of his attributes, some of the things that really make him stand out. So for me, Cole Palmer is a very complete player, right? He can shoot. He's scored some amazing goals, scoring, shooting from distance. He can pass, right? He created, so many chances. He's had so many assists, 13 assists overall, but he seems to create at least two or three really clear-cut chances for his teammates, most of which are not finished off by Nicholas Jackson and company. But he's really good at giving that killer final ball, and so he's really good at in terms of his vision and passing. He's also pretty good in terms of his speed, right? He can carry the ball. And then he's got some amazing tackers. I don't know if you've seen, some of his goals. He can nutmeg just anybody. One of the goals he scored in his hat trick against Everton, he nutmegged Brathwaite, who's Everton's brightest young star. Backheeled the ball to Nicholas Jackson and scored from the edge of the area. So he's got a lot of skill, and not just some useless kind of step over skills, like skills that help progress the game, so to speak. So in that aspect, a very complete footballer in terms of the attacking sense, right? Uh,
I want to talk about the penalty bits
yes,
because
I'm going to come to that. So,
yeah, that's
so
one of the
the
most
yeah,
entertaining bits
yeah,
of a Chelsea game now.
yeah,
What happens on a
yeah.
penalty?
Oh my God, yeah. So he is right now, after a lot of deliberations and a lot of incidents, our designated penalty taker. And I think he scored 8 penalties or 9 penalties or something, and he's not missed. So he's got 100%, right? So that obviously shows that he's also got a great head on his shoulders. He's got good mentality. He's very calm. And then coming to the extra level of calmness that you need to have at Chelsea, being a penalty taker against Everton, there was like a complete mockery of everything. You could basically see these are a bunch of kids, right?
Yeah,
Chelsea got awarded a penalty. Madueke started fighting with Nicholas Jackson. They both started fighting with Cole Palmer. The captain had to come in and intervene, and still, they were basically like kids crying about it. And
but
even after that, Cole Palmer came, stepped up, and scored. So
But I think
even
we keep forgetting from time to time that these people technically are still kids. I mean, when we were
yes, 21,
21,
22. Yeah,
20,
yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
come on. It's like
Yes.
crazy times.
Yeah, yeah,
You're
yeah.
paying paid millions in a month. You're
Yeah,
playing for one of the
yeah,
biggest clubs in the world.
yeah,
You
yeah.
do want to score. You do want to show that, you're ready to
Yeah.
step up.
So
And so this penalty incident happened when you guys were up 1-0, 2-0. What
4
was it? Or
0
was
or
it like,
something, 4 0
oh,
or
that?
3 0 or 4 0 or something like that. Yeah, we were already up. So it completely, destroyed the feel good factor of the day. But this has happened before, right? This has happened with Sterling, where he took over the
Oh, yeah.
ball from Cole Palmer and, missed. And so at that point of time, we were like, why isn't Cole Palmer a designated penalty taker? And after this incident, Pochettino came out and said that no, he definitely is a designated penalty taker. And I'm furious at what happened. But anyways, that clearly shows a very interesting thing, right? You have two people who are not much older, Dan Palmer, but of the same age actually, 21, 22, Nicholas Jackson and Madueke. They're basically kids, childlike behavior, like childish behavior, and then you have Palmer, who's got such a mature, steady head, and that he comes up even after all this nonsense, comes up and calmly puts the ball away. So that's very very interesting. So he definitely, if he can stay fit, he definitely has the mentality, and obviously he has the skills to make it big, right? So that was an interesting aspect. Thank you for bringing up the penalty aspect. And then I'd like to circle back to his height, right? He's 6 feet two, so he's pretty decent at headers. One of the goals that he scored in the hat trick against Everton was actually a header, and Chelsea do need people who can head the ball. So he's a pretty unique kind of player in that sense, a very very complete player. Of course, he's young. There are things he needs to learn. He probably needs to work harder in defense and all of those things. But overall, you can't really complain about it. Now, I think coming to how much we paid for him, right? We paid around 42 million pounds, and uh, I still remember when we bought him, there were some rumors as to the fact that Chelsea is going to sign a marquee attacking player, right? Marquee being
Hmm.
the important word here, and there were names like Florian Wirtz, Michael Olise, these guys who really shown. They're probably of the same age, but they've really shown through in their teams because they've had more chances. And at the end of it, they announced, we've signed Cole Palmer. Like, okay, we know he's got talent. We know that he scored earlier in the season 2023. He scored in the Community Shield, he scored in the Super Cup, so he's clearly talented. But he doesn't seem like a marquee signing. At least that's what I felt, and I'm pretty sure a lot of the other Chelsea players felt, right?
I think
But
most of the people didn't know that much
yeah,
about Cole Palmer. So I
yep,
think they
yep,
were pretty much surprised that Chelsea were paying 42 million for him, and they
yeah,
might have thought that City fleeced Chelsea, but
yeah,
I think it's the other way around. Chelsea have
yeah,
got
absolutely.
an
So
unbelievable star.
yeah. So the thing is, when they bought Cole Palmer, obviously I did my research, and one of the things I did was I was trying to see what Man City fans have to say about him, right? Because they are the folks who know the best about this young kid, and almost all Man City fans were pretty devastated because they knew Palmer was going to be a superstar. They knew he was going to be their superstar, right? He's a homegrown talent, much along the lines of Foden, right? So that told me that he definitely has what it takes. I didn't expect him to kind of burst into the scene in the first season, but he has, right? And so right now, 42 million pounds seems like a bargain because he's worth double, at least double that right now, right? Premier League top scorer, can assist, can do so many things. So this is a
He could
very
probably
rare,
play for
yeah.
any of the top clubs in Europe.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, no question about it. And this is one of the rare success stories in our transfer strategy, right? So
Oh,
the
yeah.
because
I
all
completely
the
forgot about
Jacksons
that.
and Mudricks and
Mudryk.
Maduekes and all of these
Bro,
people,
that last second cross from Mudryk.
yeah,
Oh my
yeah. So
God.
that's
Oh,
that's an interesting thing you bring that up, right? You're talking about this horrible free kick that Mudrik just took last moment. Game is on the line, and you
98th
clearly
minute.
see, yeah, you clearly see his
Everybody's
head
in
is
the
not there.
box.
Yeah,
Yeah.
his head is not there, right? So that's what separates Cole Palmer from the rest of the young players that we've got, and that has to come down to his lineage, right? Lineage, Man City lineage, and lineage under Pep Guardiola, right? He comes from a team that's been serial winners. He's been, growing up looking at the likes of Kevin De Bruyne, David Silva, Sergio Aguero, Bernardo Silva, and all of these guys. So he knows, the mentality aspect of it, what it takes to be a top player, which, sad to say, most of the other Chelsea players do not. Chelsea bought a lot of young players, invested a lot of money on them, but although their skills might be good, they might be diamonds in the rough, but the mental aspect has completely been overlooked, right? We see people fighting over penalties. We see,
Yeah.
things like that. Mudrik not tracking back, giving a horrible cross, clearly not concentrating at the end of the game. So it's going to be a painful journey in the next couple of years. But, Cole Palmer is one of the shining lights, throughout that, at least
So
fortunately.
you would need to build the team around him,
For
surely.
sure, there's no question about it. There is absolutely no question about it. Cole Palmer is the first name on the team sheet, and everything needs to be built around him, and he's that kind of a player. Interestingly, right? He can score, he can assist. He's somebody who you can actually build your team around. So we really, really have an amazing player on our hands, and hopefully, he will flourish. Unless he gets frustrated and he asks for a transfer, I don't know. Chelsea keep losing and playing badly. I wouldn't be surprised if Cole Palmer came 2 years down the line and said, "Okay, I'm done with this. Let's move on." Uh, the one of the things I wanted to talk about is the fact that he's basically saved Pochettino's job till this point, right? All of his 20 goals and assists have actually helped Chelsea win many matches where they should not have, or at least draw. A clear example is the match against Manchester United that we played. We
Mhm.
were ahead of Manchester United 2-0. Then we went, behind. We conceded 3 goals. We went down 3-2. And then, Palmer scored 2 goals, one a penalty and one last minute goal. He got a hat trick at Stamford Bridge, and he basically, saved Poch's job this season. Uh, so that's been interesting because I personally, as a fan, think Pochettino needs time, right? Because he may not be the most, tactically aware or tactically modern coach out there, but he can improve young players, right? And he has a track record of that. But he will need time. There are so many players, young players at Chelsea, whose mentality is so poor, is so immature, that you can't really expect him to turn the team around, even I would say in a year and a half. So he needs 2 years, right? So in many ways, he's saved Poch's job, and hopefully Poch is going to be able to improve other players and turn around Chelsea. So we'll see.
Will Poch be given that much time is another question because
Uh,
you won't be in Europe next season, right? No, you're not in.
Possibly, we are pretty close actually. If we have a good end to the season, we might get into the Conference League and
Ah,
maybe
okay.
outside chance of a Europa League. There is an outside chance.
Uh,
Actually, we should have been much closer. We drew against like Sheffield United, Burnley, and all of these guys. I think we had some really bad performances over the last month, which has been the case with Chelsea. Good performances, bad performances, all of that mixed. But I think at this stage, having gotten Chelsea to the Carling Cup final, to the FA Cup semi-final now, and possibly into Europe or nearabouts, I think Poch's job is safe at least for another year, right? And he needs to, right? There's no point in kicking him out. Although it gets very frustrating during the games, but I think he needs some time to develop the players who are there till whatever degree he can. Uh, Okay, now I've been talking about Chelsea and how he's been great. We also know that the Euros are around the corner, right?
yeah.
And the big question right now is, will Cole Palmer be a part of the England squad for the Euros, right? Uh, the main thing there is his path is again blocked, right? At least in the first 11, similar to how it was blocked at City. And City, he had Foden, Bernardo Silva, De Bruyne. For England, Foden's obviously there. You also have Bukayo Saka. So you have two creative left-sided midfielders. On the right, maybe there's some space. Rashford is there. We also have James Madison, but his form has been up and down. But I definitely think that he should go with the squad. I don't know whether he gets into the first 11 right now. I would put him in based on his performance. I don't know. What do you think?
So Gareth Southgate has a lot of big decisions to make. He's got some really good talents in his side. Declan Rice, Bellingham,
Mm-hmm.
as you rightly said, Cole Palmer. So the issue is, I think Cole Palmer should start for England. You've named a few players like Rashford. I think Grealish's name should be there or thereabouts, but I don't see them being as creative or in the
Yeah.
same vein of form as
Yes.
Palmer. See, that's a problem that Gareth Southgate has, right? Is that he picks names, he doesn't pick players on form.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, he's still sticking with Harry Maguire. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't know why.
And
Ruben
Jordan
Loftus,
Henderson.
yeah, Jordan Henderson. Ruben Loftus-Cheek has been doing so well in Italy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in
Yep.
Italy,
Yep. AC
and
Milan.
he's nowhere to be seen for
Yep.
whatever weird reason. So, I mean, we've had this discussion about international football a while back, and Gareth Southgate might be looking at getting experienced players in
Mm-hmm.
and just grinding results out to ensure they reach the next stage. But then you still need to win your games, right?
Yes.
And if you have teams that has Bellingham, Saka, uh, Foden, Palmer,
Yep. And Harry Kane in
how
form.
can you and Harry Kane? How can you not score? You'll be
Yeah.
scoring goals for fun, and then you deal with the rest. You put in five other players to defend, man. Just put these five people and just tell them to go at it.
Yeah, that's actually interesting that you say that because that's basically what Man City does, right? They play like four center backs,
Four
and
centre
then
backs. Yeah.
the rest of the folks can do whatever they want. And yeah, I agree with you. Palmer should definitely be there because he adds something different, right? He adds the technicality, the ability to assist and score from distance. And with somebody like Harry Kane instead of Nicholas Jackson, I can totally see England scoring a lot of goals.
So the other interesting thing that you brought up is the how much more technically gifted the English team is right now.
Oh
So, for
yes.
example, we talk about Foden, we talk about Saka, we talk about Palmer. The three of them can play anywhere in the front line.
Mhm.
You could push Saka to a striker's role also, although he doesn't play that. But he could play down the left, down the right, down the center. Same with Foden, same with Palmer. Palmer could play a little deeper also. So when England had that golden generation, Gerrard, Lampard, Scholes, Beckham, Gerrard was playing down the left. Scholes was playing down the left. Gerrard and Lampard could not work together. But that should not be a problem with this English side because all the players can play anywhere. So Jude Bellingham
Yeah.
for Real Madrid against
Oh
City,
man,
he
so
was
good.
playing as a false nine.
Yeah.
He was leading the front line, keeping the ball, protecting it, and doing it. So England has a wealth of talent, and I don't see any reason why Cole Palmer can't be part of the starting 11. Unless I don't know, man. Unless Gareth Southgate has some crazy, crazy decision.
Yeah. Let's see what happens. But yeah, I think he'll definitely be somebody
I
to
think he's
watch out
going.
for. Yeah, yeah.
I
Hopefully he
think he's
goes to the
going, but
Euros
yeah,
and
he should.
hopefully he can influence enough matches. I think that's basically all I had. Just to kind of summarize, Cole Palmer, our only kind of shining light in this season, which has been miserable darkness and just sadness. Hopefully, he rubs off on some of the other younger players who start performing, and we get better. But I think, yeah, this is one of the rare cases where Chelsea has gotten recruitment strategy right. Okay, I think that's basically it. Again, thank you everybody for listening to us and watching our podcast. And we'll come out with more episodes. We'll talk about, of course, the managerial situation at Liverpool in the next couple of episodes, and then, many more things. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Yo, bye bye.